Hey, you guys, we're back with another 15-minute interviews. Thank you for being here with us today, Lisa. And for everybody watching, thanks for keeping up with us. I don't feel like I've been plugging in our interviews as much as I want to in the last couple of weeks, but I'll get better at it. But just know that every Wednesday and every Friday at 6:30, we release a new 15-minute interview. So regardless if you see plugs from me or advertisements from me anywhere, we are still doing it. And so if you can please share it, help somebody that may need that. We never know if someone needs help or not, because they won't ask, but they might see something that you are willing to share. And I'm asking for you guys to be that person to share and let everybody know that 15-minute interviews exist and that there could be something out there that will benefit or help them. Okay. Man, so without any more 15-minute interview stuff, I am going to let Lisa introduce herself to us.
Hi, I'm Lisa Larsen. I'm a licensed psychologist and a life coach, and I am in Lancaster, California, and I also do online work.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here with us today, Lisa. What is it exactly that you do in your life?
I, I do psychotherapy primarily, and I work with trauma and grief. Those are my specializations, as well as self-esteem and self-acceptance. I do self-acceptance coaching as well. And that's sort of my passion, because a lot of things in this world kind of bring us down, and it's hard to love ourselves unconditionally with all the things that are out there. And so I like to help people build themselves back up.
Right. Traumas and griefs. I feel like when I'm talking to my clients that those are constants, right? They're constants. I mean, there's some that are way more salient than others, but I feel like traumas and griefs are frequent, and a lot of times we're dealing with griefs that we didn't even recognize, right? So,
That's true.
like those topics. Okay, we're going to get into it a little bit more. What are some of the most impactful points that you feel like you make with your clients on a regular basis?
Impactful forms or
Impactful
technique.
points. Yeah, what are some impactful points? Some things that like come up in therapy or in psychotherapy, to be able to help them. What's something that you usually are talking about?
Well, what I usually do for trauma is I do EMDR therapy, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And I find that makes a big impact on people's lives, because they're able to let go of the past hurts. Sometimes it works for grief, but for grief, I mainly like to convey to people that the way you grieve is the way you grieve, and no one can take that away from you. No one can tell you you're doing it wrong, and no one can tell you that you're incorrect for still feeling sad. Now, there's things that you can do to make it harder, like you can do drugs or alcohol, and that kind of prolongs it and makes it harder, and then you get new problems. But for the most part, if you are just being responsible for your feelings, then you're doing grief right, if you're allowing it to come.
Right. Okay. In that EMDR that you mentioned about the trauma, what is it that works with the eyes and trauma? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's basically a way to get the part of your brain that is stuck, usually in the right hemisphere, to communicate with the rational, more adult part. And so you do that through bilateral stimulation, but that's just really one part of it. So it's adaptive handling of that traumatic experience. So in a safe environment, I help people re-experience what they went through, just sort of the worst aspect of it and how it makes them feel now. And it's amazing to see the transformation that can sometimes happen when people finally kind of see it through adult eyes and know that they're not responsible, say for being molested or physically abused, or for being mistreated at work. And it's always so exciting and wonderful to see people let go of that pain and that suffering.
Right, right. Yeah, that would be exciting to see somebody come out of that.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything like So like being able to integrate or put in whatever they've experienced into their new life. Is there anything like that in that trauma work, or is that something completely separate?
Well, it sort of naturally takes care of itself. I mean, you can do processing to like imagine yourself in that situation now that you've resolved the trauma, and that's an important part of EMDR as well. Like, okay, if you were afraid to drive, imagine yourself in the car now that we've resolved that fear, and imagine yourself driving and do the bilateral simulation for that. Um, and also, obviously, talk therapy can kind of help you identify the blockages that might make it hard to do whatever you need to do successfully.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so backing up just a little bit about the grief, I like the idea of because, like I said, I think grief is everywhere. It happens a lot of times without us even recognizing that we had a loss, and we probably are grieving that. I feel like that acceptance about, hey, you know what you're doing to grieve, as long as you're not pushing it away, is okay, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I like that. All right, so somewhere you get your knowledge, and so we want you to share that with us. We want to steal some of your knowledge. So if you have any books or authors or somebody that you follow or listen to or that you like, can you let us know who that is or share with us some of that?
Sure. Um, I've actually had quite a few people read two books. One is Trauma and Recovery by Judith Herman,
Okay.
and that's a really good book. Also, there's a book that kind of explains EMDR therapy to just lay people by
Mhm.
Francine Shapiro and I think Silke Vogelman. And I'm blanking on the title, but also Trauma. The Body Keeps the Score
I love
by
that.
Bessel van der Kolk.
Mhm.
That's an excellent book, and I think it's helpful for people to understand what's going on and why they can't let the trauma go.
Mhm.
There's also Grief Recovery Workbook, and I don't know the authors, but that's a nice kind of book that helps normalize some of the symptoms of grief. Because a lot of times people think they're going crazy if they keep feeling sad, and I just want them to know, like it's normal, and our society kind of rushes people through the grief process,
Right.
and it's because you're not productive when you're grieving, right? But I think it's important to allow yourself to make time to feel the sadness and feel all the other emotions. So the grief recovery workbook can be helpful for that.
And that basically takes them through working through it
Yeah,
step by step. Okay, cool deal. All right, thank you. So the last couple of things that I'll ask from you, and you can do both of them or one or the other. But if you can tell us a story and or give us some kind of challenge or homework so that our audience can have something they can start working on this week.
sure, sure. What I find is if you've been traumatized and you're having a hard time accepting yourself the way you are, either because you think you didn't do the trauma right or whatever, I like mindfulness, and I like meditation. And so one really easy way to meditate, people always say, oh, I can't, get my mind blank. You don't need your mind blank. But if you can go through each part of your body as a meditation and thank each part of your body for what it has done for you and how it has survived what you've survived, that is a really nice way to kind of A, relax, and B, learn to love yourself unconditionally. That is so important. And so, you start with your skull and you say, thank you, skull, for protecting my brain. Thank you, brain, for all the thinking that it does. And just go through your face, your neck, your body. And at the end, just, really say, I love and accept myself just as I am. And it may sound kind of gimmicky, but I have had people do it, and it's so relaxing and so nice. And if you do it every day, I think you'll find that you have a much better relationship with your body and your mind and soul.
Okay. Yeah, that's to me, it sounds like a very valid practice, even though, like you said, it has a gimmicky statement at first, or this feeling at first, I think our mind is so powerful. Like, you know, it's in the situation because it started with our mind, probably, right? And so the more that we can do things like what you just mentioned, as far as having that practice of going through and being grateful towards each resilient piece of our body, right? Like, if do that on a daily basis, I feel like our mind seems to start generating a different kind of energy about how we will go about things, and start letting go of the things that have been challenging. And I think it does start creating a bigger and greater picture about how we can live peacefully inside of us, right? Like, so it starts with our mind, though. So that's why I think it's super valid for those people who are watching. Um, you know, don't let the idea of it stop you from trying this homework, because I feel like it would definitely be a benefit to add in your morning practice, as far as trying to move forward on different things. So, okay.
Well, I do it myself, and I think when we love ourselves unconditionally, we love other people unconditionally more. And I think that it has a ripple effect throughout the whole world. I know it sounds kind of funny, but I really do think that the people who do the most harm on this planet are the people who don't love themselves and other people unconditionally. And so I'm going to start a revolution.
Right. No, Lisa, you're right, because the I tell my clients, and I work with a lot of people in general, I'm just like, hey, you got to be loving. You know, love gets love. And so that when I think about that, it's not only love gets love when you're loving someone else, it's love gets love when you're loving yourself, right? Like, so you're going to turn out that way. But we forget to love ourselves. We push a lot of things away, and we're not even aware all the time. But that's what I think mindfulness brings to us, is it makes us aware of being loving. Man, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it. Very good
Thank you for
information.
having
No problem. So trauma to me and grief are really big topics, you know, that are constant in a lot of things that we do. Probably at the basis of a lot of different mental and emotional experiences that people are having, are trauma and grief. And we don't recognize it, but the more that we can simplify it and understand that, I think there's a lot of useful things that get done if we can start applying those. So again, thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing with us. I look forward to us meeting again. And for everybody who is watching 15-minute interviews, these are the kinds of reasons why you need to be watching 15-minute interviews. You get cool little golden nuggets like what Lisa just shared with us, and you'll be able to take on and participate in the revolution that we just talked about. Take care, you guys. Have a good day, and we'll see you at the next 15-minute interview.